What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I am one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez.
And I'm Ken, aka Comic Ken on YouTube.
And thank you so much for joining us once again for another weekly comics discussion. Mr. Ken, man, how you doing this week? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Just working, come home, working, and then working again.
It's the life, man. It's paradise. So,
Some could say.
that's what they call paradise. And I was just right right when I got home from work earlier. Well, actually, it was actually during work that I saw it, but then I tuned back in. But so I follow the artist Scott Morse on Instagram. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He's a comics artist, cover artist, that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
But so he's been doing like a ton of like live sketching videos. So
Oh,
it
really?
seems like what he's doing is like, like the comic sized um sketch cover books. Like he'll get those, but they're like blank. So it's just like, just like a comic book size thing full of just like white pages. And he's
Yeah.
just like throwing down sketches on each one of those like 22-page like blank books. And man, he is just freaking good. He is I got like so inspired watching him. He's like using this like I think it's like it's a Pigma um like ink brush, but it's like, it's a
Uh-huh.
disposable ink brush. Like it'll, it's not like a dip thing or anything. But he just goes so fast, and like his inks are he just like knows exactly what he's doing with his inks. And I'm like, dude, how do I get on this guy's level, man? You like seriously, and you watchers out there need to check out Scott Morse because he's wild. Um but I was watching him, and like I recognized like the pen he was using. And like I found one because I was like, oh dude, I got one of those things.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's, if you can see, I don't know if you can see, it says Pigma
Yeah.
BB, meaning like I think it's like the bold version. It's like the big version. Um so I was like trying to use it earlier, and I was like, damn it, why is mine not looking like his? I'm using the same tools. But no, it was pretty good, man. So like I'm super inspired right now because I just got done watching those live videos. Do you
uh,
ever come across like some of those like guys on Instagram or something that are like, damn, like how are these guys doing this?
yeah, I used to watch a lot of the creator of One Punch Man, or the artist for One Punch Man. He used to draw One Punch Man live on this website called Ustream. It's pretty much down right now, but they uploaded those videos to YouTube so people can still watch them. I used to watch him like use a specific kind of pencil. I think he used like this type of pencil. I don't know if y'all can see it there. I
The
forget
type.
exactly which type he used, but he would he would just use regular pencil and paper and then draw, and you could see where he would like make mistakes and erase, or where he wasn't satisfied and he erased, and then he would just start inking just straight on the same page that he penciled on. He didn't do any like special techniques or whatever. He just started drawing, and it was like you could just sit there and watch him for hours, like just do that. And it was like a treasure to me at that time because it was like I'd never seen a manga artist actually working, and then I'd never seen one of that caliber actually doing it live. So it was really
w-
amazing to see. I don't know if he's still
What
doing it though.
wasn't it the One Punch Man creator? Like if I'm not mistaken, like the One Punch Man, I guess the first artist writer guy, like One Punch Man was like super crude. Am I
Yeah,
am I am I
the
thinking of the
original
same
creator.
story? So you're not talking about that guy. You're talking about like the guy, like a hired artist or something after that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the hired artist.
Okay, that's what I thought.
His
Yeah,
name
because
is
I see.
Yusuke Murata, and he goes by Nebu underscore Kuro on like most social media, mostly Twitter.
Nice. Yeah, because here I was like thinking about like those original drawings of One Punch Man that I saw, and I was like,
Yeah.
those are a little crude. He must have like improved a whole bunch.
No. No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, he did for his next series, but not to the level of Yusuke Murata.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah, and if you guys want to follow or check out Scott Morse, I think he's Crazy Morse is his Instagram, but he's got like this really, I don't know, it really reminds me of like Bernie Wrightson kind of like line work going on, and his inks are just
Nice.
like, and he was doing it, he does them so fast, and he's got these very bold lines, and it's not too clean looking. He's got like a cartoony vibe to it. um
He's not planning it
yeah,
out or
man.
anything. He's just doing it.
Well, he so from the live stream, he's got penciled pages. Like whenever he like flips to a new page, it's already penciled.
Uh,
um very very rough pencils, and he's really finding his lines in the inks. But he's just going so fast. It's like he knows exactly what to do, even though his like
mm,
pencils are so rough. He's just like hitting the ground running, and it's like, okay, here, curve there, okay, do a little black under here to make it look a little shadowy. And he like starts from like top to bottom, and just like he goes so fast, and I'm like, man, like he's I guess it comes with a ton of drawing hours and stuff. Um,
yeah, for sure.
but yeah, he's quite the talent, man. He's a good Instagram follow for sure.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, man. So this week it's kind of how's this week been for you? For me, it's kind of the grind, the weekly grind has been a little lackluster, I'd say. Um, it's because this weekend we were at Eastern Rim Con, kind of had to
Hmm.
take that Sunday when I usually that last day of the convention. This one wasn't as bad because it was just a 2-day show. But like that Sunday when I get home, I'm like, dang, dude, I just need to like decompress and just kind of like put everything aside and just like watch some TV and like pass out. How
Yeah.
how was your Sunday getting? Because you had to drive all the way back to San Antonio or San
Yep.
Marcos, right? That Sunday.
Uh huh.
How did
Yeah. I
you how
just
did you yeah.
I got home and then I wanted to go to sleep, but I gave myself the task of okay, put everything back exactly where you got it from, and unpack everything perfectly before you go to sleep. And literally, it's like I don't have any time really to like take a break. Like there's too many I guess financial obligations coming at me at once to really stop and not do anything. So like my mind is always like either awake or sharp or whatever. And like when I even when I'm asleep, it's like I can't really even rest
Hmm.
um until I get this whole I guess financial situation figured out. And then I can relax a little bit. But like I can already feel it in my body, like it's starting to slow down a little bit, to where it's trying to rest. Maybe, hopefully, this weekend, when I get my first break off of work, and then I can like maybe like I don't know, take a nap or something. That would be nice.
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel you. That's why I think this week. I mean, I've painted a handful of pages, so that's good because I'm always just I just feel guilty if I don't get anything done. It's like some
Yeah,
people who like, and if you've ever like gone to like the gym a lot, right? Like you'll go for like 2 weeks straight, and you'll like feel good, and you're doing everything good, and you'll kind of get in this routine to where it's like it's like a staple in your day or a staple in your week. And
yeah,
if you get to a point where like you skip a day or you start skipping a couple days, you like start to feel guilty about it. That's kind of like what I've developed now with like comics and stuff. It's like if I don't do anything today, at least paint a page, paint a panel or whatever, or draw something, like I feel like I'm cheating, like I'm cheating myself. So it's like,
yeah.
but this week has certainly been kind of you know long weekend, trying to get back into it. And then I've got another show this Saturday, Joseph Schiller show. We've had him on the podcast
Right.
before. for his indie book fair. So I'm excited for that. Luckily, it's just a 1 day show, so like just a Saturday. Um, Going there and I got my other comics buddies in there too, so it'll be good. But yeah,
Nice.
man, we gotta step back, take a bit of a break sometimes, man, and decompress because all the stuff I have going on, all the stuff that you have going on, like you know we can break if we don't take these little rests and breaks.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, man, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about like Eastern Rim because like our last episode, as of this recording, it was live and in person at Eastern Rim Con in the
Right.
fantastic library that Jerry Schaefer so graciously let us record in there. That was awesome.
Hmm.
Um, but we were kind of in the middle of the show there. So since then, we've gone through day two. We've got a full understanding of the full show, and takeaways. We had some pretty awesome interactions there. But in terms of you, Ken, like I've been doing a handful of shows for a handful of years now. Whereas you're starting to try to get more into the circuit and everything. How
Yeah.
did like overall like your conclusion on this show and kind of what you kind of take away from it now that you had a few days to kind of step back? How was your experience overall?
Well, this was my first show without having Nick Patera there with me to really kind of, show me the ropes or just kind of just table next to him. So it was my first time just like completely alone. And everything went better than I expected. But before the show, everything was wrong. Like my shipments for my product and my comics like completely missed. Um Kablam didn't get my comics ready on time. They took too long to respond, like 2 weeks after I sent a message. Um and I just had all old material. So I thought I didn't have enough to fill out in like my table. But I was able to use a couple of my portfolios to fill up space. I made a mission list. Um I had a square reader, card reader from my friend Ngozi, and I had old prints and new mini zines that I could sell. So it wasn't fully like it wasn't a loss at all. And a lot of people came by the table and checked stuff out. So it was a better experience than I thought originally going into it. I had more material to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know of like I've mentioned this before in a podcast or two before. Um, but like there's just such a difference in enjoyment that I get out of doing shows, in terms of like interacting with people, having people come up and talk to you. You have other creators come and talk to you as well, about their books, about their aspiring dreams as creators and whatnot. People may want you to want to get a sketch from you and this and that. Like I know that there's like I get such an enjoyment out of that. Like for you, since you've been focusing so much on like the digital marketing aspect, like did you kind of see that difference in between digital marketing and like face-to-face interaction at a show? Did that kind of speak to you? Does that kind of like make you want to do more shows and stuff now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it definitely made me want to go out to more shows. Because when people come to your table, it's like you can see firsthand exactly who your target audience is, or you can see who's actually like interested in your books, who's not. A lot of women aren't interested in like my high school character, but a lot of guys will come by and they'll at least like take a look and be like, I like what I see, and uh to actually start talking to the people who are genuinely interested in it and they like the look of it. I'm like, wow, okay, so this is somebody who actually wants more of what I'm putting out. And then I was able to get a few email list signups from that, and like it's it's a lot nicer to see in person the people who are genuinely interested in what you're producing, even if it's not their taste completely. At least you can talk to them and convey your personality live and in person, versus online it's like, well, you have to have this many followers, or you have to know this person, or you have to shout out this person or get a shout out from that person. And then uh and then even then you could be sending out posts into the void, and if you don't know the proper strategy of how to like get followers or views on your thing, then you're shit out of luck, man. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so shows, it's kind of like being behind the table is an automatic, your it's like you automatically have more like followers, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you're sitting next to Jay Lee or Pop Man or whoever, and it's like, okay, they have the same amount of followers as you just because you're both behind the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at a show, it's almost like an equalizer, and then the only thing there is who has more, who's actually interested in like what you're putting out. You know, like they can tell exactly what you have by looking at your table and
Mhm.
walking by. So like some people will be more interested in the person next to you because they draw in a more anime style, or some people will
Mhm.
be interested in you because you're drawing in a more underground niche style.
Mhm.
So it's more honest that way. People can just be like they'll look at your table and then just look away. But there's no hard feelings when people like look away. It's just like, oh, it's not their taste. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. I like what you said there. It's kind of like this equalizer, you know. It kind of it gives everybody who's walking by a chance to like look at your stuff and decide if they like it, if they want to come engage, if they want to just chat. You know, like for my table, you know, we've got like the Houston comic scene zine there on the table. And I mean, that's just like an automatic attractor of like, you know, more like indie people, more alternative kind of guys, and like people who are interested in like, you know, the local scene and may even want to like contribute to it, you know. So it's like
right.
you know, stuff like that you're not gonna get online.
Right. It's like it's not decided by an algorithm. And I think I mean, you could say that the algorithm would be like where you're placed in the show. Like if you're placed all the way in the back, maybe nobody's gonna walk all the way over there to see
Yeah.
you. But if you're
Yep.
placed like in a prime time spot, maybe that part of the algorithm has more traction or more like foot traffic and whatnot. So you could say
Right.
it's like that in that case, but it's not dependent on factors you can't 100 like that you can't control to some extent. Like, nobody has
Hmm.
control over the algorithm except the people who run the apps and programs and stuff. But you can control how personable you are, how you set up your table. I'll walk out in front of my table to make sure, like, when somebody walks by, like, what are they seeing? What I want them to see. So, like, when I set up my table for the first time, I walked out in front of it just to like take a look. Like, okay, I put that there. That's visible, so everyone can see that. Okay, that one more in the back. Stuff like that to make sure it's like a good storefront.
Yeah. 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 For sure. Like make it like symmetrical and
Yeah,
like, when people walk by, they want to be like, "Oh, that looks professional," or that's inviting. Um, and I think there's so much stock in like people seeing physical objects that you made.
yeah,
Like because it's not a common thing. Us, we're around comics, we talk about comics, we hang out with comics people, we go to shows and stuff. We see handmade comics all the time. But, like, to some of these people that are walking by, like, that's not a normal thing for them. There's, not
Mhm.
not everybody is a creator, not everybody is, a craft maker or a painter or anything like that. Like a lot of people are just, people who are consumers, they're just strictly consumers. So when they walk by and they see something that, oh, you physically made this, like there's an extra like exuberance about it, them being like, oh, this isn't just an image that I see on my phone. It's like a physical book that is in my hands right now, which
Yeah.
gives, a lot more stock to your appearance.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about having like a physical book in your hand or a physical product. It's like, oh, I can actually like flip through this and see what it's all about versus like looking on a screen. It's like, okay, I can see 10,000 other things on a screen, but there's only one of this book. I could see your book, and then if it's not like nothing else at the show, then it's that much more special to look at. Versus the internet, you can instantly find 10,000 other things like what you are presenting, and that in that way, it's a more competitive environment and a more competitive space versus a show where you're just competing against whoever's at the show.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think one of my big highlights from the show, from this one specifically, was like there was a fan, super awesome guy. So I met him at Comic Palooza. I don't remember if I mentioned this in our last video or not, but whatever. I'm gonna say it again if I did.
All
Um,
right.
but yeah, so like I met him at Comic Palooza, which was back in May. I was in much lower spirits at that point because that's like right when like my car got broken into and three
Right.
portfolios and everything stolen. Um, but I met him there and he came by my table just on a whim. He was looking at my stuff and was like saw West Not South and was like
Actually,
immediately.
I'm sorry. Who did you mention? Because it kind of cut out when you mentioned it.
Okay, no, so at Comic Palooza, a guy named his name is Josh. So I met him at Comic Palooza, and he came by and he saw
Huh?
West Not South, and he was like immediately drawn to the artwork on it. So he picked it up, he liked it. I told him about it, gave him the pitch and everything. He's like, "Oh man, that sounds awesome, cool." So he bought it. Um,
Nice.
so then flash forward what 3 months or so. Now it's August. Um, he comes back, here at Eastern RimCon, and I'm there at the table, and he comes by and is like, "Dude, loved West Not South." He's like, "It's exactly how you described it." BoJack Horseman meets the Coen Brothers. Um, he's like, your other book was really fun too. It was cool, but West Not South, like this is the one where I was like, oh, I need more of it. It's like kind of like what his impression was of it. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And he was like, oh, and I love your style and everything. Can you do this commission for me? So it's like it's one of those moments where it's like, ah, okay, I see how this stuff works. Like I see how like somebody comes up, sees you randomly, likes enjoys your stuff, and enjoys it so much where they're a repeat customer, and not only are they a repeat customer, they're coming to buy original artwork from you, which
Right.
standard comic-con practice, like commissions are more than your book. So it's like you're starting to see like that business kind of come to fruition. So like every time I have an interaction like that, it's fantastic because you know I start to realize like how some of this stuff can actually become like a business, a viable
Right.
full-time type of business. Yeah.
Yeah, and we met a couple of full-time like convention goers, full-time like actual like comic artists, and that like along with another friend telling me that they used to go to conventions full time to launch their career, it made me really think like, hey, this is like an actual possible thing to go out to different conventions, make profit from your comics from your imagination and putting your stuff out there, and then getting commissions, getting people to buy your books, all stuff. Um, yeah, it made me think it was like actually possible to go ahead
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors to it. I mean, some
Right.
people that you see that go to shows, like they might not even have a book, but they're just like promoting their Kickstarter to like sign up for their Kickstarter. I've seen stuff like that happen.
Really.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I have like that happens a lot. Well, they'll just have like flyers of their Kickstarter, and that'll be like,
Hmm.
hey, either can sign up for the notification, or back the Kickstarter online. Like there was one guy, I actually think it might have been last Eastern Rim, but he was a creator there, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna buy your book here, and he was like, no, 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 don't even waste your money on that one there. Go ahead and just contribute to the Kickstarter for my next one. So I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't love that interaction, because it's kind of like,
Oh,
well, now you like pigeonholed me into like doing this. Um,
right.
but there's everybody has their motivations and stuff. At the end of the day, I'm supporting comics, so you know, it's not just like a solely like a fan art type of guy. I'm
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But luckily, yeah. I mean, I think there was a handful of people at this show too that were creators that I've met before. That's kind of the thing with these local shows that you'll start to see, and I'm not sure if there's like shows like in San Marcos, or like weekend shows like that come around, but
Yeah.
once you start doing those, like you'll start to see like these repeat customers, maybe not even buy anything because they've bought something from you last time, but they'll come by and just want to talk about their process, about your process. Um, it's just like staying relevant within that community, which I think it's kind of key with like these more local shows.
Right. Yeah, I think
But
that's something I'm gonna have to start doing, like getting involved in my local scene and whatnot.
yeah, I think I saw you post about like a show coming up in Dallas or something, or was that
A show
like
coming in Dallas.
or didn't you post you were like thinking about going to, I don't know if it was in Dallas or like another
Oh
show, but
yes,
you
yeah, I
posted
know what
about
you're talking
something,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about going to this show called Y2Con. It's like a convention celebrating like Y2K, early 2000s cartoons and animation and all that stuff. And that's exactly like my aesthetic, or that's exactly like the kind of stuff I'm into. Um, it's mostly gonna have a lot of like voice actors and actors that were influential in that era, like Bartman, Will Friedle, um, voice actors for like cartoons from that era. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it's gonna have comics and stuff. I think there will be an artist alley though, and I can't afford the friggin' ticket there. I think it's like $400 to $500 or something. So what I'm gonna do is go over there and maybe do like some research, see what kind of artists or comic artists are actually hanging out there and promoting their work, and then see if I can save up enough to table there next year, and then
Yeah.
go from there. But this is the first year it's actually happening, so I'm like, okay, let me check it out and see what it's all about, and um, do some field
Yeah.
research, pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I mean, I also think like shows like that could be difficult because, you know, people who are going there for like the old for cartoons and stuff like that, they might be looking like primarily for like fan art and stuff. So it's always like hit or miss, but you certainly never know. So it'd be good to kind of go and scope it out,
Yeah,
see what they're offering.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, I think overall it was a pretty awesome experience. It was awesome getting to hang out in person with you, getting a live in the flesh recording done. That was super
yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Um,
that was great. It was great to have Justin in there too, like, because we've had him on the show
yeah,
before. We just haven't released the episode, but just having him in there on the episode, that was funny.
yeah, yeah, man. Justin's awesome, man. Like Justin is one of the guys that like I'm always either sharing a table with, or we're like at the same shows.
Hmm.
Um, we're I think we're steadily finding like our comics community here in Houston. It maybe it had already existed and we just didn't really know too much, but we're starting to kind of um, expand that reach a little bit. And we're starting to get like other creators that are reaching out to us and just finding us at shows and stuff. So Justin's like one of the key guys in like this kind of community building aspect, and it's been great, man. You need to find that community over there in San Marcos, man, so I can come over there and do one of these kind of old school comic shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've been out to what was it, Casa, or like the San Marcos or the
Yeah,
San Antonio
yeah,
convention. So
yeah,
I want to see what that one's about. I'm going to see like what kind of shows we have going on in San Marcos, because I know there's a huge art scene in San Marcos, South Austin, Austin in general. So yeah, I'm going to start doing shows once I get some more books in and
yeah,
have like a consistent printing schedule. I think it would make a good I guess you could say supplemental income or side income, even though it would be like a hustle just going out to conventions every weekend. It would be almost like working nonstop. Like I work my full time dishing job all like the whole week, and then weekends would be conventions. But I don't really know how many conventions are in Texas to where I can make that a sustainable thing that I could do all the time. Like how many, like, do you just go to, besides Heroes Con, do you just go to Texas conventions, and how many, like, how frequent are they?
yeah. For the most part, it's usually just Texas shows,
Hmm.
because like just the production cost and like getting out to another state is just insane.
Yeah.
um just in terms of like flight and hotels and everything. But I've done, I think, this year, and I think by the end of the year I'm gonna probably be doing maybe like 10 to 12 total, I think, this year.
Like,
Which is,
oh, this whole year?
yeah, I think so, because I've done just thinking right now, like I've done Comic Palooza, I did Heroes Con, I did Eastern Rim Con.
Hmm.
I'm doing this indie fair this weekend. I'm doing Galaxy Con in Austin, coming up here in a couple weeks, September 1st through 3rd. Um, I'm doing here. I'm like like listing off everything. I'm just trying to get a good count. Bedrock
Right.
City Con, um, Comic Indie Con. That's towards the end
Right.
of the year. I did the Casa show that was earlier in the year.
Uh-huh.
So I'd say about 10. I'd say about 10. 10 total, and that's a pretty
Right.
good amount. And I think that that's a good amount to kind of strive for. Being like, in our position where we're not full time, we can't just go and we're not getting like invited to shows or anything like that either, where
Right.
our travel costs are paid for and all. um but I think like 10 is like a good, like one a month type of average is like a good thing, because like some of these are just like 1 day shows. So like 1 day shows are dope, like you and a couple of your comics buddies or whatever, you guys get together, you guys go get a couple tables, you hang out
Hmm.
there, you meet people, you sell a few books. Usually 1 day tables aren't too expensive, say usually about like $50 for like a 1 day show.
Right.
um so like that cost isn't insanely hard to make up. So you go, you hang out, you get some fans, you make your table back, and then you close down shop at the end of the day, and you go and hang out with your buddies, grab a drink, whatever. Like, it's
Right.
like it's working, and it's like trying to get the word out there for your comics, but it's also kind of like this really kind of like cerebral event, like that you can go and hang out with your boys and like people that are like you're into, that are into the same stuff as you are.
Yeah.
And then you go and like hang out after, you talk about the show, talk about comics, talk about stuff. Like, to me, like to me, that part is just as cool as the show sometimes, especially if it's like a one-day show, because it's like, you're hanging out with your boys for the day and you're drawing, you're sketching, making a few bucks from selling your books. So I love that aspect of it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of magical like experiences just hanging out after a show that I went to with Nick. Um and
Yeah.
those far outweighed like the show itself. I wasn't
Mhm.
tabling at those shows, but just the hanging out with the other artists afterward, it was like, okay, this is what artists are really like. Because it was in my like early 20s, like when I was like 20, that I actually got to see like, oh, this is what these people are actually like. They're not just what they present on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Like they're like this is them in flesh and blood, and they're drawing in front of me, and it's amazing to see. Um, but I had a question about the shows and the financial aspect of it. Is it a would you call it a good like supplemental type of income from these shows, or would you say that the result of the show is more networking based and you get more of a fan base by going to the shows rather than a financial outcome?
Yeah, I mean, right now the goal is the latter of those two options. It's
Hmm.
the networking and meeting people and, getting people interested in my books because, right now I cannot, well, I mean, maybe if I looked at it and analyzed a little bit closer, maybe there is some pretty consistent income coming in there to
Hmm.
where I can be like, "Oh, if I'm doing a show a month, I'm gonna get X number of bills, I mean, X number of dollars that month if I'm doing one show." So like there's some kind of like calculation that I could do there that could be like, oh, that's a good supplemental thing that can help pay for a bill, that can help for groceries or whatever. Um, but right now I'm not taking it in that regard because I do have my full time job that's paying for my living and everything.
Right.
So yeah, the latter is like the main goal for me is like, meeting the people, getting people interested in the books, um, with the goal that one day, like all this work that we're doing, this kind of quote unquote grunt work, if you want to call it that, it's going to like build up what I need to kind of, launch it into the next level. But yeah, I think that networking stuff is where my headspace is for sure.
Nice.
But it's also, it's nice. It's definitely fantastic anytime, you're in the green for a show. You paid your table, you were able to cover your table, you're able to cover your, gas money and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And you're like in the green, like that's the best. If you're putting more money back into the pot than you took out, that's like my main goal in terms of like the financial stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, but yeah, man, it's fun stuff. It's I'm more of a, I guess, quote unquote old school creator. I guess you could call it. So that's why like I love doing like the shows and stuff when I can.
Right.
I think there's a lot of value in it. Um, but who knows? Maybe one day all these conventions are just going to be replaced by like AI kiosks, and we're going to like
What
upload our
the
our data into there, and then like there's just a bunch of kiosks behind booths, and you just like press Nico Rodriguez, and then like
oh my
outspits his comic,
god. No, that'll never happen. I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
that would be so
This
weird.
if that happens, this channel is going to be the first line of defense against those AI kiosks. Just saying.
Right.
But
Yeah.
all right, man. I think that wraps it up for this episode. This was a fun discussion, man. Kind of a casual one, lighthearted one. Just kind of doing some wrap up stuff and just overall experience things. But Ken, man, where can the good people out there find you? Where can they read Air Rider?
Everyone can find me on at thecomicsgrind on X x.com. You can find me on
I like how you started that like to X.
Yeah, that's where people can find me now. And you can find me on Instagram at comiken, and it's there. You check it out. And you can also read my web comic Air Rider High School Hero on Global Comics. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
Fantastic. And you can find me and follow me on Instagram at Nico_writes. The same thing on X and on Threads if you're on that. I don't post a ton on Threads yet, but maybe it's the future. So maybe I should start doing more on it. And also, you can follow me on my Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. That's everything. Thank you so much for joining us this time, and we will see you next week.
Peace.